A new ministry has been created and former foreign diplomat Grenada Modeste will take up duties there as Minister of State come Monday in the second ministerial reshuffle of Prime Minister Tillman Thomas.
4 government ministers will be taking up new portfolios following a cabinet reshuffle which fueled debates over the last 2 days of serious problems in the ranks of the ruling National Democratic Congress. Prime Minister Honorable Tillman Thomas on Tuesday told CC6 Newsnight that the moves had been confirmed, and in a media conference on Thursday, Press Secretary to the Prime Minister Richard Simon outlined the changes.
As it stands now, the Honorable Peter David has now been asked to take over the reins of tourism. Minister Hood has been asked to take over the reins of foreign affairs. The Honourable Dennis Roberts will now be asked to take over the reins of Labour, a place he was before, and the Honourable Michael Church will now serve as the Minister of State with responsibility for works and physical development and public utilities, of course. The Prime Minister has communicated that in making these changes, he is looking to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of his government. As you know, cabinet reshuffles are not necessarily extraordinary events. It simply signals that the Prime Minister looking to increase efficiency, increase the ability of his government to respond to issues of national priority.
Mr. Simon dismissed speculation that there were any personal issues involved in the reshuffle and said the Prime Minister has to decide what kind of focus he wants in a particular ministry. It is for the Prime Minister to determine if the ministers are better suited for those ministries to which they have been appointed.
It is the Prime Minister's prerogative to reshuffle his cabinet at any time. Constitutionally, he has the right to reshuffle at any time. The Prime Minister's position is that ministers at the time of assuming office were all committed to service in whatever area they were responsible for. And he believes that is exactly what this reflects, that wherever he chooses to ask a minister to serve, that it's a team effort, that governance in fact is a team effort, and that ministers were to be guided by his direction in the context of where he'd like them to serve.
The 4 ministers were called in on Thursday by the Governor General's office to collect their instruments of appointment.
The swearing-in process should have started today. My understanding is that a number of ministers were called to receive their instruments of appointment from the Governor General. One, I believe, was done today. And that will happen between now and Monday. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, the changes will take effect on Monday next.
Simon also said that every government reshuffles its cabinet whenever it is necessary, so the time of the last reshuffle in July last year should not be taken into consideration. Another major change in the Tillman Thomas administration is the appointment of Grenada Modeste, former head of the OAS mission to Haiti, as senator to replace Dr. Pemba Braveboy. Modeste will now join the new Ministry of Foreign Affairs, International Trade, Export Development and the Environment as Minister of State to Mr. Carl Hood. Troy Gill, CC6 Newsnight.
The government ministers who are taking on new portfolios are expected to take the oath of office tomorrow. On Tuesday, reports surfaced that the government was making its second cabinet reshuffle since taking office 2 years ago. This was confirmed by the Prime Minister yesterday and further expounded upon today by his press secretary. Keishon Thomas reports.
During Thursday's news conference, the Prime Minister's press secretary, Richard Simon, detailed the 4 changes which will take effect on Monday. He confirmed reports which were in circulation to the effect that Minister Peter David is being returned to the Ministry of Tourism and that the present Minister, Glenys Roberts, is heading back to Labour. Carl Hood leaves the Labour office for the Foreign Affairs portfolio, and Minister of Foreign Trade and the Environment, Michael Church, is being appointed as Junior Minister in the Ministry of Works. Simon also confirmed that former diplomat Grenada Modeste was offered a senatorial position. Reports are that he will replace Dr. Pemba Braveboy in the Senate. She has continued her private practice and has never held a ministerial portfolio. According to Simon, the ministers who have been reassigned will be sworn in tomorrow, Friday, and their appointments will take effect on Monday, November 22nd. The news of Prime Minister Thomas's reshuffle has sparked debate in several circles, and reports are that some of the ministers who were affected are disgruntled. However, Mr. Simon indicated it's the Prime Minister's prerogative to reshuffle the cabinet.
It is the Prime Minister's prerogative to reshuffle his cabinet at any time. Constitutionally, he has the right to reshuffle at any time. The Prime Minister's position is that ministers at the time of assuming office were all committed to service in whatever area they were responsible for, and he believes that is exactly what this reflects. That wherever he chooses to ask a minister to serve, that it's a team effort. That governance, in fact, is a team effort, and that ministers were to be guided by his direction in the context of where he'd like them to serve.
In a statement released yesterday, Prime Minister Thomas highlighted the fact that all members of his administration, upon winning the July 2008 general election and assuming office, gave a commitment to serve the people of Grenada in whatever capacity they are required to. A major bone of contention seems to surround the transfer of Foreign Affairs Minister Peter David and Tourism Minister Glenys Roberts.
It's an issue of increasing the efficiency of the government, deliverables that people are requiring, and also government priorities. Tourism is a major priority of the government, as you know. It's one of the major drivers of the national economy, and that demands a certain amount of focus. And I think the Prime Minister, in his deliberate judgment, has determined that it needs the focus of a minister like Peter David at the moment.
Mr. Simon also dismissed claims that Prime Minister Thomas declined to meet with the ministers on Wednesday. Keishon Thomas, GBN News.
Prime Minister Tillman Thomas has been both criticised and commended for his recent decision to change the portfolios of some government ministers. He told GBN News on Thursday that he was acting within his responsibilities as leader of the country when he made the changes. GBN's Eugenia Peters spoke with the Prime Minister today.
In a statement on Thursday, Prime Minister Tillman Thomas said that the cabinet changes were designed to strengthen the government's implementation process, improve the effectiveness and efficiency of its operations, and properly utilize the strengths of the team. Speaking to our news desk on Thursday, he reiterated his point that there's nothing extraordinary about his decision.
I say it's a routine thing. I mean, it's a cabinet reshuffle is really not an exercise in democracy, an exercise in reason. It's an exercise of the authority vested in the Prime Minister from time to time to shuffle the cabinet for efficiency and, the good administration of the state, and that's why it was done.
And the various areas that changes were made, a lot of talk was made as to the shift between tourism and foreign affairs.
Well, no, since the last cabinet reshuffle, we removed tourism from foreign affairs. We did not shift anybody from foreign affairs. It's the first time somebody had been removed from foreign affairs.
All right. And also I understand that the General Council meeting for the weekend has been postponed. Some persons have been saying it has to do with the cabinet reshuffle.
No. If you want to get details on it, talk to Senator Glenn Noel as the chairman of the party. He will give you all the details on why it's postponed.
We did ask party chairman Glenn Noel about reports of the postponement. He said that he was going to check with the logistics team as to how far along they were with the preparations, and he would get back in touch with us. Up to news time, we had no further word from him. Eugenia Peters, GBN News.
Well, the pending cabinet reshuffle has been a major talking point here in the last 2 days. GBN's Keishon Thomas has been getting feedback from members of the public on the realignment of portfolios.
Talking about issues and basically implement whatever issues they have, especially the bit where they're talking about clarity and transparency, because I think the people really want to see what's going on.
They just need to work together.
Right now, I feel the government should work with the people of the country.
Something is wrong. Something is definitely not right with the political situation in Grenada. And it could be a turn-up any day. We wouldn't have something as a revolution, but we could have an unrest in Grenada in days to come. Because it's showing just that. It didn't show no progress, as if the people in charge know really what they want or what they're doing. We have a long way to go.
When you're in the public service, they could move you because in the NP time, Ms. Cohen she was in different ministries. Nothing wrong with them moving and shuffling. But the point I want to make for the nation and for the Prime Minister, Peter David was in the Ministry of Tourism and in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, right? They moved him from tourism. Now you want to put him back in tourism. What message you send in? What you telling the people?
The Governor General's office has confirmed that the cabinet ministers who are being reassigned will begin to take the oath of office tomorrow, Friday. Meantime, Prime Minister Tillman Thomas has confirmed that Environmental Minister Michael Church has been demoted because he attended a meeting in Italy without cabinet's knowledge. The Grenadian leader says Church was accompanied by Patrick Antwine, and he as Prime Minister was never briefed.
In particular, Minister Church knows that he has done something totally out of the way. That's why he has been demoted. He knows that, as a matter of fact, Minister Church went to Geneva without cabinet authority. So, you know, that's why he's been demoted. Minister Church apparently was using his office to facilitate Patrick Antwine, and they went to Geneva at a meeting without cabinet authority. There was some meeting there, and they went to a meeting where I imagine Patrick Antwine representing his companies in Trinidad or wherever they are, and Minister Church was facilitating him, which I think is not in the best interest of Grenada. The office of a minister is not that of a freelancer. A minister has to work for the people who are paying for him and who he's representing, not to be freelancing with his friends or those who you know, he's associated with.
So is that, was there a feeling then that he was operating out of bounds and behind your back?
Well, that is how I interpreted it, yes. Behind the back of the cabinet, not the cabinet was not aware of it.
Defending his reshuffle of the cabinet, Prime Minister Thomas says it is his prerogative to change the portfolios of government ministers.
A reshuffle is something that is routine. It is the constitutional authority vested in the Prime Minister for reorganizing and for efficiency in government. It's not something that you have to give explanation or reason for. We are there to serve. I mean, office is not really, position is not the major thing. We are there to serve. And wherever one is placed, I mean, if one is committed to the people and the country, he or she should serve.
Prime Minister Thomas also responded to concerns that the reshuffled cabinet ministers are unhappy and want to resign.
If they want to resign, that's, you know, I don't think it's any, I don't see it as something that calls for resignation. People may not be satisfied, but I don't see any major problem with this. That is a routine thing. You know, I don't see anything to worry about.